Hello everyone, welcome back again to our channel Coder Circuit. In today's video, we'll be talking about one of the most important concepts in any programming language. So the topic that I'm going to take up today is exception handling in Java. Okay, so if you go for any competitive interview questions or if you go for any competitive interview that you are appearing for, exception handling is a very important concept. Okay, so we'll start with that. And before starting this video, I would like to request all of you, as always, to please like and share our videos if you really like the content. And at the same time, if at all you feel that we are bringing good content to you, please don't forget to subscribe to our channel and also hit the bell icon so that you receive notifications regarding our latest updates. Thank you. So without any more further ado, let's get started and talk about exception handling in Java. Okay, guys, I am going to divide this tutorial into parts so that it becomes easy for you to understand this. Okay, because exception handling is a very vast concept and it cannot be done in one single video. So what we will do, we will take it into four parts. Okay, so that we can understand and implement all the stuff in different scenarios. Okay, so let's get started with part one. Now then, let me go to Microsoft Whiteboard and give you a brief idea about what actually is exception handling. Okay, so here I am inside my whiteboard. Imagine I have something like this. Okay, I'm drawing a house. Okay, say imagine you are starting from your house and I'm imagining that you are a student. Okay, so what I do, I'm saying that you go to your school in the morning. So, what is your day to day task? Something like this. Say in the morning, you wake up and then you start for your school. You go to your school and then you study there, obviously, and then you come back, right? So, this is just a normal flow of execution, okay, that you do day to day. So, you start from your home, okay, then you go to school, and then you again return back to home. That's your normal flow of your work process or your flow, okay. But imagine sometimes what happens, you are starting from your school. Let me draw this diagram again so that you can understand this thing even clearly. So imagine you are again starting from your home towards your school with all your belongings, whatever you have, say school bag, water bottle, etc. etc. Then you are going to your school now. But what happens all of a sudden, it starts raining. Now, what is it that you are gonna do? You have to reach your school. Okay. Now, the best possible solution for you is I'm giving you a real time example so that you can understand better. You will take an umbrella and you can simply walk across the road and simply you can go to your school. Correct. And then you can easily attend your classes and you can study and then you can come back home. Correct. Okay. So, what is happening here? This rain that came here, you can see, right? This rain that came here is actually disturbing the normal flow of execution of your workflow. Correct? So, in terms of programming, that is called an exception. Okay? Anything that disturbs the normal flow of execution of a program is known as exception. Now, what did you do? You used the umbrella, right? You can see here, you used the umbrella. So, your umbrella will become the handler. Okay? So anything that disturbs the normal flow of execution of a code is known as an exception, and the way you handle that exception is known as exception handling. Okay. So because we want to get at least the normal flow, right? We want to get some predefined output, even if we are getting an exception. Okay. So anything that disturbs the normal flow of execution of your code is known as an exception, and the process of handling those kind of exceptions is known as exception handling. Okay. So now I hope you can understand about this and you have got a great picture about this, right, in your mind. So If at all you were asked this kind of questions in the interview, you can simply say that, okay, I was about to go to my school, but because of rain I couldn't go normally, so what I did, I used an umbrella to handle that rain, and then I'm easily going to my school and studying and coming back. Okay, so normal flow is normally starting in the morning and getting ready going to school, but abnormal or disturbed flow is something like this: you were going to the school and all of a sudden it starts raining and you take an umbrella and you go to school. Okay, so I hope you have understood this, right? So now, as we know the basic idea of exceptions, now let us talk about the exception handling hierarchy in Java. Okay. So what you do, we all know that the object class in Java is the parent class of all class in Java, right? Okay. Inside that, we have all the child classes that we have in Java. Okay. So you should know one thing: every error and exception in Java, they will come under one parent class. The name of that parent class is throwable. Okay, makes sense? So, throwable again extends the object class. Okay, because object class is the parent of all classes in Java. Okay, fine. So, every error and exception will come under the parent class throwable. Fine. Now, I have already told you about exceptions, anything that disturbs the normal flow of execution of your code, right? Now, what is an error? Error is something that cannot be handled, okay? Fine. So, imagine you have a 4 GB phone and you want to install an application which needs at least minimum of 16 GB, okay? Make sense? Now, what happens? Can you install it in your phone? It's not possible. It will say out of memory error, okay? So that means I don't have the prerequisite resources to install this particular application. That's why it is saying you don't have that particular amount of memory to store this application or to install this application. That is called out of memory error, or that is actually an error. Okay. And errors are divided into basically two types: compile time and runtime. Okay. Fine. And error is something that you cannot handle. Okay. It cannot be handled. Exception is something that can be handled. We can do some tweaks to our code and we can handle the exceptions that occur in our code. Okay. But we cannot handle errors. Fine. So with that, we have two types of exceptions that I'm going to tell you about right now. Okay. If you initially or while writing the code, if you know about the kind of exception that you are going to get in your code, that is called a checked exception. Okay. And if there is some error or exception that occurs in your code and that you don't know about, okay, that is undefined, or that is something that is uncertain actually, okay, that you don't know about, that is called unchecked exception. Okay. It's like something like this: imagine I'm going to college for a class and I don't know about the subject of that particular period in that class. Okay. So what I will do, I will take a rough notebook. Correct. But if I know that I have a mathematics class, I will take my maths books and the maths notebooks. Correct. So that is something like this. When I know about the exceptions, then I will call them under the checked exceptions. But if I am not certain about the exceptions, those fall under the category of unchecked exceptions. Okay. Now I hope you have got a very good idea about what are exceptions. Okay. Please remember these things, and if you can pause and take a screenshot, or if you can write it down, that will be very good, because this type of questions are very frequently asked in the interviews. Okay. Now, done with this, what we do, we go to the IDE and we try to implement whatever we have seen here. Okay. So let's go to our IDE now. I'll minimize this and let's start with my IntelliJ IDE. Here I have already created a package. Here I have already created a class for you where I'm going to write the code now. Okay. So I've taken example one. Now what I do, let me take the main function and let us try to understand what we just learned in theory. Let us try to implement that in practical. Okay. So I will take three variables int a comma b comma c is equal to, I'm initializing c to 0. Okay. Then I will simply write something like this. A is equal to, let me take 20. B is equal to, let me take 5. And I will say C is equal to A divided by B. Okay. Now, after that, let me print the value of C. So as simple as that, you can see here that 20 by 5 will be 4 and I will get the output as 4. Correct. Let me run this and you can obviously see that I have got the value 20 divided by 5, which is 4. Fine. Now, this is the normal flow of execution of your program. There is no interruption or exceptions. Okay. But imagine if I divide 20 by 0. You can see already I have got a kind of exception. In mathematics, when you divide something by 0, we get the term called infinity. But there is nothing called infinity in Java. Okay. Here what happens, if you try to divide this, let's see. Okay. Let me run this and show you. Yes, you can see here, guys. Exception in thread main java.lang arithmetic exception. And you can see the message divide by 0. Okay. Now the problem is this is not a good way of representing your code. And at least I expected to get the default value c equal to 0. Even that is not getting printed, right? So we use try catch to actually deal with exception in Java. Okay. If you have come from C++, there also we use C try catch. Okay. So let me show you like this. We use a try block. Fine. If at all we get any exceptions while dealing with this, then what we do, we catch the exceptions in the catch block. Now, already we have seen the exception that we got here, right? See, arithmetic exception. Any kind of exception that belongs to the mathematical categories will come under arithmetic exception. Okay. So I will just write arithmetic exception and by syntax, we create the object E and then finally we just say S out E. Okay. Now, I hope you've understood. So let me just give you a brief idea again. We try to do something here in the try block. If at all we have any exception, we catch that exception in the catch block. Okay, that's it. Now let's see if I run it, what we get. Okay, you can see here we got this message java.lang.arithmetic exception divide by 0. And finally, you can see, guys, the basic or the default value of c equal to 0 is also getting printed. Okay. So this is cool, right? At least we got the default value and we are able to handle the exception that we are getting. But now by looking at the output, you can already see that this kind of a message is not good for the end user. The person, whoever is using, suppose this is a calculator, okay, we are trying to divide a by b, and then by mistake the user says 20 by 0. In that case, this is not a good message to display to the user, right? See, whenever we deal with the exceptions, we have to give some messages to the user so that the user can understand what is happening. Now, by looking at this code, a normal person cannot understand what is happening. Yes. So what we can do, we can just comment this line and we can also say S out a customized message. I can say invalid division by 0. Okay. Now let's run this and check out what we get. Okay, guys, you can see here we are getting this customized message. Now this is very proper and it will actually tell you what is happening with the code. Obviously, right? You can see that even a layman or a simple user can understand what is happening with the code right now. Whenever the user presses 20 by 0 and hits enter, obviously you will get this message. Then he or she will easily understand that, okay, I have done something wrong. I should not divide by 0. Okay. Now this is one case. Now for interview purpose, you have to remember one thing very important. Okay. Sometimes they can ask you, by looking at this simple output, we cannot say which line is giving us the exception. Now, whenever you are building real-time applications, so what happens is there is a very big catch here. Imagine your code is around 10,000 lines. Now, how can you find out which line is throwing this exception? Not practical, right? So in that kind of cases, the interviewer might ask you, which line is throwing the exception? Can you tell me? So there, what you do as a developer, you can write down something like this. Take the object E dot, there is something called print stack trace. Okay, this actually gives you the exact line number where the exception is occurring. Okay, so if I run this now, see the output now, you'll understand that. Okay, makes sense. You can see here example 1 dot java 9, the line number line is actually throwing the exception. You can see here, right? Okay, so this is a very good way of actually debugging your code. You can understand which line is giving you the exception. Okay, but if you don't want to do that, you can simply give the customized message. Okay, now let's do one thing. I will show you one more thing that can happen. This is one kind of exception, and guys, I told you, right? If you know about the exception, then this is called a checked exception. Because I know that this is a mathematical error, I can take this arithmetic exception class and easily access the properties of this class. Okay, but imagine I have a array is equal to, sorry, I have to give this brackets, and let me say I have one 5 elements. Okay, now say imagine I want to print the array element at a particular index called 10. Okay, so you can see here I have only 5 elements inside the array, but I am trying to access the element at index number 10. Okay, so is it possible? Not possible. But right now, by looking at the code, can you tell me, will the code reach this line or this line? Let us run this and see. So I'm running this. You can see here it is not reaching that line. The problem is we already have an exception in line number line. So my JVM on the compiler is telling me that, boss, you have to correct this thing first, then only you can go to the next line. Okay, so what we do, let me write 10 here and we correct this. Now you can see the warning got changed from here to here as soon as I wrote 10 here. You can see here, right? I'm getting this. Now let's run this. Now this is a different kind of exception, guys. You can see here array index out of bounds exception and index 10 out of bounds for length 5. Absolutely correct, right? It says you have designed or created an array of 5 elements, and now you are trying to access the element at index number 10, which is not at all possible. That's why the compiler is throwing an exception, which is array index out of bounds exception. Okay, so what do we do? We can have multiple catch blocks which can hold or which can handle multiple exceptions that occur in our code. Okay, so this time it is array index out of bound exception, and simply create the object E and I can print a message like this: invalid array index. Okay, so now let's run this and see what we get. Yes, this is a good way of handling that. You can see here, right? We are getting the customized message called invalid array index. Okay, and then we are getting the normal value of C, which is 10 twos are 20. Okay, fine, no problem at all. Now then, these are the kind of exceptions that actually are known to us. We know about them. Arithmetic exception, all the mathematical calculations will fall under this. And imagine all the array problems or array related index related problems will be coming under this class, array index out of bound exception. Okay, but imagine if there is something else happening to your code, then how do you catch them? Then in that kind of scenario we use the base class of exceptions. Okay, so catch, if you don't know about any kind of exceptions, you just call the exception class and create the object, and you can use a customized message like this, say something unexpected happened. Okay, now if you run this now, obviously this array index exception will be handled by this particular block, right? This particular block. Let me run this now. Okay, you can see I have this, but my question is, when do you get this particular catch block executed? Okay, let me do one thing for you. Let me just delete this too. Okay, now let us run this. Fine, you can see that we are handling an exception by using the base class of all exceptions. Okay, exception E. Okay, so when you are not certain about the kind of exception that we are getting, we can use the base class. Okay, now I have one more question for you, which is very frequently asked in the interview. It is something like this. Okay, so I will cut this from here and put it here on top. Now you can see the interviewer can ask you like this: why is the base class, if I put it on top level, doesn't work? Why is there an exception error here? You can see that when I put the parent class exception of all exceptions on top, why do you get this compile time errors here? Can anyone guess the answer? Just pause the video and guess the answer. Okay, let me tell you the answer. As soon as you write this catch block with the base class exception, it is handling all kind of exceptions that occur in your code, right? Why do you need this particular individual exceptions? It's like I have got access to the top level authority. Now, why do I need to go to the subordinates and talk about this? I don't need that, right? Okay. So just remember, if you want to use the unchecked exception, which is the base exception, okay, if you want to use this base exception, either this should be at the bottom here or it should not be there altogether. Okay, so the base exception class is there to handle any kind of unknown exceptions. Okay, but the known exception should always be at the top. Okay, and the base exception should always be at the bottom or the down level. Okay, so I hope this is clear. Now imagine I will give you a scenario, something like this. Let us go to the whiteboard again and let's talk about something important now. Imagine you guys have opened a restaurant, okay? And here you were preparing good food and you have created, say, many dishes. And morning you have opened at 10:30 a.m. and then you have been waiting till 7 p.m. but there are no customers. Okay? My question is, even though there are no customers, are you going to keep your restaurant open? Yes. I'm asking, will your restaurant be open even though there are no customers? The answer is no, right? A big no. You cannot keep your restaurant open even if there are no customers. Okay? So you have to close the restaurant at the end of the day, right? Correct? So let's come back to our code and try to understand the same thing. So what I am asking you is, if you have initialized any resources of the operating system, you have to close the resources even if there is any exception in your code. Okay, so in that kind of cases, what do? Okay, there is a finally block in Java which actually executes no matter what happens to your code. Okay, that means this finally block will always execute irrespective of the execution situation of your code. Whatever happens to your code, this line or this block will always be executed. Okay, so I am the finally block. I will get executed no matter what. Okay, so just to be meaningful, I've written this sentence. Now let's run this code and see what we get. Yes, you can see here, guys. I am the final block. I will get executed no matter what. As I said, this finally block is used to release the resources of the operating system. Okay, fine. I hope you've understood this. So this is it about the part one, guys. In the part two, I will be talking about many important concepts like the throw keyword and the throws keyword. Let me go back to the Microsoft board, and here we'll discuss about some things: the throw keyword, the throws keyword, and about a very important concept where I will show you how to utilize this throws keyword. Okay, we'll talk about the buffered reader. Okay, so those things will be covered in part 2 and part 3 of our exception handling tutorial. Okay, fine. So with this, we have come to the end of part 1, guys. I hope you have understood this. Please remember, the finally block is used to actually release the resources of the operating system that you are utilizing. Maybe the internet connection, maybe the database connection, maybe any kind of resources that you are starting. We have to close those resources. Okay, that is generally done in the finally block. Okay, now to get a simple overview, let us look at a PPT. Okay, so let us just focus on the basics so that we can remember the definitions that we have learned. Okay, so exception handling, as I told you earlier, exception handling is a programming concept and a mechanism used to manage and respond to exceptional conditions or errors that may occur during the execution of the program. Okay, these exceptional conditions are often referred to as exceptions. I told you, right? Anything that disturbs the normal flow of execution of your code is known as an exception. Okay, then let us talk about some important points. You can see here, in any software application, various situations can arise that disturb the normal flow of execution. These situations can include errors, unexpected input, hardware failures, network issues, or any other exceptional event that deviates from the expected behavior of the program. Okay? Whenever such situations occur, exceptions are raised. They are raised by the developer, whoever is writing the code. Okay? And to know about exception and to deal with exceptions is a very important part for a Java developer. Okay, guys? Now, you can see here, exception handling allows developers to anticipate and handle these exceptional conditions in a structured and controlled manner rather than allowing them to cause the program to terminate. Okay, as I showed you, our program should not terminate. It should actually go with the normal flow, but with some error messages. Okay. So by employing exception handling, developers can gracefully handle errors and take appropriate actions to handle exceptional situations. Okay. So exception handling is a very important part of any programming languages, and to know and learn about this is very important if you are going to build a career as a developer in any programming language. Okay. Now let us go about the 4 steps that we have here. The first thing is throwing an exception. Okay. So we try that in the try block and then we catch it in the catch block. You can see here, right? Catching an exception. Then the hierarchy, you need to know that, as I showed you in the code. First, we should have the checked exceptions that we know about, and finally, we should have the base class of the exception class. Okay, and then we should have the finally block, if at all required, where we should close the OS resources that we have used during the execution of a code. Okay, and finally, we should have the exception propagation, how the flow of the execution is working. Okay, so you should know about all these things. Fine, guys. I hope you have understood this. Let's go to the last slide here. This is the basic overview. Okay. So exception handling can vary by programming language. I have showed you in Java. You can learn about this in C++ or Python. But the base logic is absolutely same. If there is any abrupt termination of your code, that is not a good practice. So you should use exceptions to handle those. Okay. And you can see here, most modern programming languages provide built-in support for it. Okay. Developers can improve software by using exception handling to handle exceptional conditions and provide error messages or recovery strategies. Okay. I hope you've understood this. So thank you guys for being with me in this tutorial. I hope you have liked it. If you have any doubts regarding this code or the tutorial, please write your doubts in the comment section. I'll be very happy to clarify them. And at the same time, if you like this video, please don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon, because that will motivate us to bring more good content to you. And thank you for listening and thank you for being with us. Till the next part, Bye bye and happy learning. Hi guys, welcome all to our channel again, Kodasaki. In this tutorial, we'll be talking about exception handling in Java. This will be the part 2 of the series, and we'll be covering two important topics, which are the multiple catch statement and the throw keyword. Okay. So before starting this video, I would like to request as usual to all of our audience to please like and share our videos with your friends and family so that we can reach more number of people at the same time. And also, if you really like the content that we are bringing forward to you, please don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon, because that really motivates us to create more better content for you guys. And thank you for all your support. So, without any more ado, let's get started. As I said, today's topic will be the second part of the exception handling tutorial in Java, and we'll be talking about the multi-catch statement and the throw keyword. Okay, so let us go to our IDE directly. And here you can see we had a code that we wrote where we saw how to use multiple catch blocks, and then we had the finally block. Okay, and this was the explanation that we had in the first part of the tutorial. Guys, if you have not watched that tutorial, I will give the link in the description and also in the I button, so that you can go back and go through that video, and then it will be very easy for you to understand this video. Okay, so I request all of you to go back and follow that link and watch that video and come back here and start. Okay, so this same concept of having multiple catch blocks can be utilized by having a multi catch statement also. Okay, so what you do, I will just do one thing. I will just copy this entire stuff from here of the main function, and let us create a new file. Okay, so here I will just say example2 and press enter. Fine. In this one, I will just paste the code that I had from earlier. Okay, you can see here, right? So we have this code. Now what I want to do is, I said I don't want this kind of multiple catch blocks like this. Okay, so what I will do, I will just remove the catch blocks that we see here, the arithmetic exception one and the array index out of bounds one. And also I will show you a very good use of the instance of keyword also. Okay, so let's do that. What I will do, I will keep the base class exception here intact, and I will remove these two exceptions here. Okay, you can see I only have the base class exception here, which is just printing like this, something unexpected happened. So this is an unchecked exception. Okay, now what we do, I will show you how to create a multi-catch statement. So that means actually in one catch block, we will have multiple exceptions handled together. Okay. As we saw earlier, we had two different kind of exceptions in this code, right? One was related to zero division error, and the other one was related to array index out of bounds exception. So what I do here, just see catch. First, I will say arithmetic exception. Okay. And then you can just give a pipe simple here like this, and you can also write multiple exceptions like this. Okay, so here I will write array index out of bound exception, and for this two exceptions I will create the object e, and here inside the catch block I will use a if else statement like this. Okay, so suppose I write like this: if this e object that we created, if this e is instance of arithmetic exception, then I will print invalid division by 0. Okay, else, obviously if this is not an arithmetic exception, then it will be an instance of the other one, right? The array index out of bounds exception. In that case, I can just print here like this: invalid array index. Okay, and with this we are done with this. Now you can see we have actually added one catch block which has handled both kind of exceptions with a single object. Okay, and then you can see here I'm checking if E is instance of this class. That means if we are throwing this kind of an exception, any mathematical exception, then we will get this result. Okay, or else if we are getting this exception, which is the array index out of bounds exception, then we will handle it in this statement. Okay, otherwise if we are only having the base class exception, then we'll throw this message. Now let us try to run this and see if this is really working or not. Okay, so for that what I will do, I will just say change this to 0. Okay, now let's run this and see what we get. You can see here guys, as soon as I change this to 0, I'm getting the first one, invalid division by 0, right? So it is working fine. So this catch block is working fine, and initially it is handling the arithmetic exception. Now let us do one thing. Now let's change that data again. I will write 10 here, and here I will try to utilize this line of the code where I am trying to access the element at index 10 of the array, and I have only 5 elements. The length of the array is only 5, but I'm trying to access the element at index 10. That means the 11th element of the array. Is that possible? Not possible, right? So let's see what we get here. If I run this now, yes, you can see invalid array index. This is one more way of reducing the catch blocks and writing a multi-catch statement where we can handle n number of exceptions like this. Okay, this is one very good way of doing it, and also I have showed you how to use the instance of keyword. Okay, so if you want to check whether an object is an instance of any particular class, you can use the instance of keyword and check it like that. Okay, so if this statement is true, it will execute this line, or else if the code is throwing this exception, array index out of bounds exception, then it will be handled in this particular line of code, the other print statement. Okay, so it is working fine. And imagine if we did not have this too, then obviously, if you are aware of the earlier video, if you have gone through the earlier video, then you will know that anything unchecked or uncertain will be handled in this exception block, the base class. Okay, and I already told you about the finally block. It actually handles everything that has to get executed even if the code is not working. Okay, that means if at all there is any problem with your code and your code is not executing fine, then also this line of the code will mandatorily execute itself. Okay, the final block always executes itself no matter what happens to your code. That's why all our operating system resources are released in this block. Okay, and I will show you an example in the third part of this video. I will not confuse you with finally right now, don't worry about that. I will show you an example in the third part. But now, as you have understood this, let us do one thing. See, we had a different scenario here where we had two different catch blocks. You can see here, right? Catch arithmetic exception and catch array index out of bounds exception. What we did in the example 2, we created a multi catch block where we are handling the two exceptions together into one single block. Okay, so that is a very good benefit. Okay, and I showed you the use of the instance of keyword also. Fine. Now let's do one thing. Guys, if you have any doubts regarding this as well, please don't forget to mention your doubts in the comment section. I will be very happy to clarify them. And now that you have understood about the multicast statement also, let's go to the important topic in this tutorial, which is the throw keyword. Okay, guys, please remember, throw keyword is used to throw or create user defined exceptions. Okay, user defined exceptions. Suppose you want to create your own exceptions, you can use the throw keyword. Okay, let's see an example so that you can understand better about that. Okay, so here let me create a new class, say example 3, and here what I will do, I will just create a function, say void check age. This function will take a integer age from the user, and based on that it will check whether the age is greater than or equal to 18, and based on that what I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to say eligible and not eligible for voting, something like that. Okay, so I will say if age is less than 18, in that case, I will throw a new exception. So for that, we use the throw keyword. Okay, throw new. You can throw any kind of exception, as you can see here. I will throw a runtime exception. Here, I will just say access denied, not eligible. Okay, fine. But if the user is passing a proper age, then I will simply print access granted, and I will say eligible for voting, or I can simply write like this, eligible for voting. Okay, that's all. Now, guys, you already know about the use of the static keyword if you have gone through our videos. Okay, so if I have the main function now here, you can see that I will not be able to access the check case function. You can see I'm not getting any suggestion at all. Okay, even though I'm writing this, you can see no suggestions. That means if a function is not static, we have to create an object. You know about that, right? So then I will just give you a simple demo about that. If you are not aware of that, I will just say the syntax of creating the object was class name. Okay, obj is equal to, we call the constructor using the new keyword, and then we create the object like this. Now if you see, if I use the object or the instance obj dot, I can easily access the check age function. Here if I pass 12, which is an age which is less than 18, now see what happens now. You can see, guys, we are getting a customized message here, access denied, not eligible, the message that we had written here in the print statement. So we are actually creating an user defined exception with the help of the throw keyword. We are throwing a new kind of exception. Okay, got it. But imagine the age is more than 18 or equal to 18, then it will throw the normal message which is eligible for voting. You can see here. So I'm running this. Just see, when I'm passing 20, it is all okay, no problem at all. So just remember this, the throw keyword is used to throw user defined exceptions or create user defined exceptions. Okay. Now, this is one way of calling this function. There is one more way. If you don't want to create an object and increase the heap memory, guys, remember, whenever you create an object, it goes into the heap memory. Okay. Not the stack memory. Okay. So what I will do, I will just remove this two lines, and see, if I try to again access, I'm not getting. So what I do, as I said, the static keyword is used in front of functions to make them accessible to the main function without creating any objects. Okay, that is very important. So static belongs to the class. So whenever the class is loaded, the static members are also loaded together. And it goes to the method area. That is the third memory space. Okay. One is the heap, one is the stack, and the third one is the method area where the static members are stored. Okay. So now when I've declared static, you can just see what happens now. If I say check age, see, guys, I'm getting access and I'm getting the suggestion as well. Now here, if I say 12, you will get the same message that we had earlier, access denied, not eligible. Let me run this. Now you can see I'm getting the same message, access denied, and it is a runtime exception that we created. Okay. And imagine if you're writing anything else, say 23, it will give you the normal message, which is access granted. Okay. Let's see. Yes, it's working. No problem at all. Okay. So I've given you the demo of the static keyword also. So there are lots of other things that can be done with the static keyword. This is just a simple example and one way of using the static. Okay. And you've seen that when we write the static keyword in front of functions or methods, we don't have to create an object or an instance. We can directly access them in the main function. Okay. So guys, this is about it. I have told you about the multicast statement to save time and space, and at the same time, I've showed you how to throw user-defined exceptions with the help of the throw keyword. Okay, so that's about it in this tutorial. We'll talk about the throws keyword, the next keyword, most important keyword, with the help of a different example. As I said, I will be talking about the buffered reader, right? So we'll talk about that in the next tutorial. And if you have any doubts in this video, please get back to us in the comment section. I'll be very happy to clarify all your doubts. And guys, please, if you really like the content that I bring to you, please don't forget to hit the bell icon, like our videos, and subscribe to our channel, because that will really motivate me to bring more content to you. Okay. And thanks a lot for watching the video till the end. This is Saurav signing off. Till the next time, bye bye and happy learning. Hello guys, welcome back again to our channel Coders Arcade. This tutorial will be the third part of Java exception handling. Here we'll be covering the throws keyword in Java. Okay, so before starting this video, I would like to request you to please share our content with your friends and family if you really like them. And at the same time, if you really think that the content that we are bringing to you is good and it is worth it, then please like and share our videos, and also subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon so that you receive notifications regarding our latest updates. Okay, and thanks a lot for your support. We cannot thank you enough. Thank you for supporting us and guiding us with all the reviews that you're giving, and that really keeps us motivated to bring more and more content to you. Okay, so without any more ado, let's get started. As I said, today's topic will be the part 3 of Java exception handling, and we'll be covering a very important concept, which is the throws keyword in Java. Okay, so let's get back to our IDE, where you can see that in the last part, or the part 2, we covered the multicast statement, how to write it. You can see here, this is the multicast statement we wrote, right? And then we also saw how to use the throw keyword to create or generate user defined exceptions. Fine. As I said, in this video, we'll be discussing about how to use the throws keyword. This is also one of the most important keywords. Okay, guys. So let's get started. I will create a new class called example4. Okay. And here in the main function, let's start our code. And guys, I will tell you one more very important thing about this video. We will be discussing about the buffered reader, which is a very important class in Java used to take user input and also to display output. Okay, this class can be used to do a lot of things, and it is one of the most important classes for file handling in Java. I will create a dedicated video on file handling using the buffer reader. Don't worry about that. This will be coming in the future. But for the time being, uh, normally what we do, we use the scanner class, right? We use scanner as C is equal to new scanner. And we write here like system.in, correct? And then we use the scanner class object, and gradually we keep on taking the data from the user or the input, like sc dot, if I use next int, it will give me integer data and so on, like, correct? So right now, this is one way of doing it, and the other one, as I said, will be the buffered reader. Okay, so with the help of that, I will show you how we can use the throws keyword. Okay, so just remember one thing for the time being. The throws keyword is used to handle the exception in the method body itself. Okay, so we write it somewhere here. Okay, after the name of the function and before the curly bracket, exactly this place that I've highlighted here. Okay, so the throws keyword is used to handle or suppress the exception at the method level itself. Okay, so you can also use try catch. I will show you both of them. Okay, so let me just delete this stuff, the scanner class. I don't need it right now. And okay, so first let us create the object. And guys, remember, sometimes you will be asked this in the interview. The buffered reader actually belongs to the package java.io. Okay, so buffered reader, you can see here java.io is the package, and let me take br is equal to, let me initialize it to null. Okay, fine. Now, as I said, there is a unique difference between the buffered reader and the scanner class. Okay, the buffered reader can even read keyboard inputs. Like if you press the enter key, it can also read that, but the scanner class is not able to do that. Okay, so that is one basic and unique difference between the buffered reader and the scanner class. Now, first of all, let me take a string variable so that I can store the data here. Say input. The input can be anything. Okay, so what I will do is I will just use my buffered reader, and try to read the user input provided by the user. Okay, so I will just say br is equal to, let me initialize the object, new buffer reader, and because we are trying to read input, I will create the object for the input stream reader. Okay, and then here we will be giving the declaration system dot in, because we are trying to read input from the user. Okay, makes sense? I hope you have understood this. Because we are using the buffer reader to read input stream, so we are instantiating it to the input stream reader, and then we are telling in the constructor that we are trying to read input from the system. Okay, fine. Now, as simple as that, let me just pass a user message like enter any data or press any key. Okay, and then we can use the buffer reader object. We have a very special function in that called read line. Okay, fine. Now you can see, guys, as soon as I use the read line function, it is showing me an warning, right? You can see that I have a compilation error. That means that there is an exception in this code and we have to handle it. So as we earlier had, we can use the try catch here just like we did earlier, and that will suffice the problem. But what I want to show you is the use of the throws keyword here, right? So as I said earlier, the throws keyword is used to handle the exception at the method signature itself. Okay, so what we do, if I just hover over this, the exception that is occurring here is actually IO exception, input output exception. Imagine that the user is not passing anything, or else there is some kind of error with the input received. Okay, in that kind of cases, we have the input output exceptions. Okay, so if I just hover over this and go to this option, add exception to method signature, just see what happens. Okay, right now this space is empty, right? You can see here. Now, if I hover over this again and go here and click this, you can see I get this option of throw IO exception. And automatically, guys, you can see that the error has been resolved and there are no errors in my code as of now, right? So that is the use of the throws keyword. The throws keyword is used to handle the exception at the method signature itself. Okay, then you don't have to use the try catch. But in my earlier videos, I told you that the finally block is used to release the operating system resources. This block will get executed no matter what happens to the code, right? So, guys, it's my humble request, if you have not gone through the earlier two parts, please go through them. I will be providing the link in the description and also in the I button. And it is my humble request so that you go back and understand and try to code or debug those videos, learn and get used to it, and then come back to this video, the part 3, and try to learn it from here. Okay, otherwise it will be difficult for you to understand this. Okay, so I will give the link in the description and also in the I button. Okay, please go refer them and then come back and start off here. Okay, so now, as I said, let's go here, and what I will do, the finally block is used to release the resources of the OS. So simply, I will use a try catch. This is not mandatory, but why I'm using is I will tell you so that I can show you the use of the finally block also. Okay. So after that, and as soon as I have read the input, I will store it in my input variable, input equal to br.readline. After that, simply speaking, I will just print the input. The data is plus the input provided. Okay, if at all there is any input, or else it will just skip it like this. And here I will just say catch exception e, and then I will just print the exception. This is not mandatory, I'm just showing you the use. Okay, and finally, in this finally block, I will say buffer reader dot close, because we have to close the resources. Okay, now let's try to run this and let's see if we are able to implement the logic or not. Okay, let me run this now. So if I run this, you can see it is asking me enter the data. Okay, sorry, I have written it wrong, right? So it should be any data, right? Sorry. So let me rerun it. Right click and run again. So stop and rerun. Okay, enter any data or press any key. So initially, let me do one thing. Let me just press enter and see if it is working or not. As I said, the buffer reader can read input stream or keyboard press also. Let me run. Let me just press enter. Okay, guys. You can see it said the data is, and I just press enter. You can see, and the code finished with exit code 0. That means there are no errors, and our code compiled and executed successfully. Correct. So this is about the buffer reader, guys. Now what we'll do, we'll take a string as an input. Okay. So coders arcade, and let me press enter. Now you can see it says the data is coders arcade. It is printing the input string provided by the user, and then it is exiting the code. So it's working absolutely fine. Got it? So this is how we use the buffer reader. Guys, the buffer reader, as I told you, it can be used for many different things. We are using it for reading input from the user. And if you want to read multiple lines, what you can do is you can use a for loop or while loop and put it inside that, the br.readline function. And then you can easily read the multiple data that is provided by the user also. Okay, fine. So this is how you do it. And please remember, when you are instantiating the buffer reader for an input, you instantiate it to the input stream reader, and then in the constructor you pass the system.in. Okay. So, and finally you can see here, as soon as we use any resources, the buffer reader is one of the important resources of my program. So I have to release it. So I'm doing it in the finally block. Okay. So this is about the throws keyword, guys. The throws keyword is used to handle the exception at the method signature itself. Okay. So either you can use a try catch, or else you can simply use a throws declaration. That's it. It makes life very easy for a developer. I hope you've understood this. Guys, if you have any doubts regarding this video or any other videos, please feel free to post your comments or doubts in the comment section. We'll be very happy to clarify those. And if you really like the content, if you really like this video, please don't forget to hit the bell icon and subscribe to our channel. And also, thank you for your support. And as I said, hit the bell icon so that you will receive notifications regarding our latest updates. Okay. So thank you for watching. Till the next part. Bye bye and happy learning. This is Saurabh signing off. Bye bye. Hi guys. Welcome back again to our channel Code Circuit. This video will be the fourth part of Java exception handling, and here we'll be covering one more important concept in exception handling in Java, which is the try with resources. Okay. So before starting this video, I hope you guys have gone through the other three parts. Please go back and refer those and then come back to this part. That will be very helpful so for you to understand. Okay. And again, before starting, I would like to request all of you to please like and share our videos and subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon if you really like our content, and this will help you to receive notifications of our future updates. Okay. So without any more further ado, let's start with today's topic, which is try with resources. Okay. So let's go back to our IDE, and here you can see in the last example, guys, before even starting, let me tell you one thing. If you have not gone through the earlier videos, I will give the link to the earlier three videos in the description and also in the I button, so that you can go back there and refer them and then come back and start with this. Okay. This is a very humble request from my side so that you can follow along. That will be very helpful to you. Okay. So you can see here in the earlier one, I showed you the use of the throws declaration. Okay. So what my point here is, there is a particular hierarchy of the try catch blocks. Correct. So something like this. Let me just create a simple text file here, text, and okay, let it be .txt, and let me open that. And here let us try to discuss the hierarchy. So as we have learned in the three parts till now, so first we try to handle an exception in the try block. Okay, if there is any exceptions, then we catch that exception in the catch block, and there can be multiple catch blocks also. Correct. And finally we have the finally block, where we actually release the resources. So if we want to talk about this in a proper way, we can say try to do something, catch exception type 1, and you can then say, if I copy this catch exception type 2, there can be n number of exceptions, right? Any kind of exception. So here also I can have one more catch block where I can say that catch exception of any type by using the base class, that is the exception. Okay, got it. And after that, what we do in the final block, we release the resources. Okay, so this is actually the hierarchy of the try catch block. We try to do something in the try block. If at all there are any exceptions, we catch them in the catch block. And because I said there can be n number of exceptions or any type of exception, maybe array index out of bounds, maybe runtime exception, maybe arithmetic exception, maybe divide by zero exception. It can be anything, right? In that kind of cases, we can handle them using multiple catch blocks, or else we can also use the multi catch statement that I just showed you in this example number, I think 2. Yes, this one. You can see here, this was the multi catch statement. We can sum up together the types of exceptions in one catch block by writing them separating by a pipe symbol. Okay, that means the or operator, something like that. Okay, so you can also combine multiple exceptions in one single catch block. That is also possible. So what I want to say is, we first try to do this, then we catch the exceptions in multiple catch blocks, and if we have some undefined or unchecked exception, then we try to catch them in the base class of the exception. And finally, we have the finally block where we release the resources. So this block will always get executed no matter what happens to the code, right? So this is the actual hierarchy or the sequence of writing the try and catch blocks. Now, my question is, will my code work if I don't have the catch and the finally blocks? Is it possible? That is my question. So let's get back to the code and try to see this. Think of this and just try to answer me this. Will the try block work without catch or finally? Can we do it? So what I'm trying to say here is, let me just do one thing. Let me delete this catch and the finally blocks. You can see here, automatically there is a compile time error, right? And if I hover over this, you can see here, it says add catch clauses at finally block. It's saying that, correct? So that means there will be a compile time error and I will be getting an error when I run this code. It will not execute, it will not compile at all. So my question is it possible to have a normal try block without even catch or finally? Yes, guys, we can have it, and that is called the try with resources. Okay, so let us do one thing. Let us run this in a wrong order or with some errors. Let's see what we get. I'm running this now. You can see here in the error or in the message, we have try without catch, finally, or resource declarations. So that is what we are going to learn today, guys. Resource declarations. So what is try with resource? Okay, so this is a very important interview question. Please keep it in mind. What is try with resources? Okay, I have already written it here. Let me not write it again. So almost all Java developer interview questions has this question. What is try with resources? Okay. So whenever we write the try block without even the catch and the finally block, it is called try with resources. Okay. So now we already saw that in the run panel, or let me just do one thing in the problems. Catch or finally expected is written here, and let me run this again so that we can go back to that output. Yes, you can see here finally or resource declaration is missing, correct? So we have to give that. So now what is that actually? So simple as that. After the try and before the curly bracket even starts, we write a round bracket. Okay, and inside this round bracket we provide the resources for the try block. See now, guys, the error, if I just delete this from here, The compile time error was coming here. Now if I give the bracket here, the error will shift to this line. Yes, you can see the red color line is highlighted here. Now this is actually the resource that you are using in our code, right? The buffer reader. Now I will simply cut this from here and pass it in this bracket like this. And we have the class. Let me just copy the class from here and paste it here and paste it like this. Okay. And let us delete this line from here. It's not required. Now you can see our code is very clean and there are no errors, and I need to remove the semicolon. This is also not required. Okay. So inside the try bracket, you can see here inside the try bracket, we have passed the resources. The buffer reader has been passed inside the try bracket. This is called try with resources. Okay. Whenever we pass all the resources in the parenthesis in the try block only, it is called try with resources. Now let us run this and see if this is really working or not. Right. We wrote the code, or we actually have written the code. Let's see if it is really working or not. So run this. Yep, it is working, guys. You can see I'm getting the option, and let me just press enter. You can see it's working absolutely fine. And let me just run this and pass any data, say coder circuit, and press enter. You can see it's absolutely behaving the same way as it was doing earlier. Okay. Now let's do one thing. Let us talk about one more important interview question. Now here, whenever we are using the buffer reader in the try with resources, we don't have to write the finally block, correct? So in my earlier program, what we saw that we have to use the finally block to close our resources or release our resources. Now in the interview, you will get a very important question, which is, if I am using buffer reader in the try with resources, how does it auto close? Because they will ask you this question. How are the resources closed? Because there is no finally block and I have not even written br.close, something like this, br.close. So see here, it is not even highlighted here, guys, right? So that means there is something happening which is actually closing it automatically. But how do you find it out? That is a very important interview question. Please remember that. Now, very simple and very easy to understand and remember, that is to understand the hierarchy of the buffer reader. Okay. So first of all, what we do, we press Control and click on the class. See here, let's go to the class of buffer reader and see the hierarchy of buffer reader. So I'm clicking on this. You can see public class buffer reader extends the reader class. Okay. Now let me hover over this again and control and click. Now you can see public abstract class reader implements readable and closable. Okay. So these are two interfaces, the readable and the closable, and the reader implements the readable and the closable interfaces. Now let us open the closable interface. So you can see here, guys, the public interface closable extends auto closable. Okay. So that actually says all right, because the closable extends auto closable. So that's why whenever we are using the buffer reader inside the try with resources, it is automatically closed. We don't have to close it. Got it? Clear? So this is a very important hierarchy that you need to remember. You can see here again, the buffer reader extends the reader implements the readable and the closable, and then the closable extends the auto closable. That's why it is automatically closed by the JVM. We don't have to close it. Okay. So that's it about this. So guys, this is about the try with resources. This is a very important interview question. I'm telling you again and again, please go through this. And many of the students or even professionals don't know about this. So I'm giving you a hands-on example on this. Please, please, please remember it and try to remember it for your interviews. Okay. So if you have any doubts regarding this also, you can post your doubts in the comment section. I'll be very happy to clarify them. And at the same time, if you like this video, please don't forget to like and share it with your family, and also hit the bell icon and subscribe to our channel for future updates. That is very important, because that will actually motivate us to bring more good content to you. Okay. So I hope you have loved this video, guys. This was about our tutorials on Java exception handling from the beginning to the end. Okay, I have given you a brief example of all of them, and if at all I get any newer concepts in exception handling, I'll be bringing them to you. Don't have to worry about that. If I get anything new, I will be bringing them to you. Okay. So thank you for watching till the end, and I really appreciate your support and really thanks a lot. And thanks for being with me till the end. So till the next video, this is Saurabh signing off. Bye bye and happy learning. Thank you guys.